This is Matt for Into Boxing. Delighted to be joined by the one and only Kalle Sauerland. Kalle, first off, how's things? How are you?
I'm very well, Matt. How about you?
Yeah, I can't complain. Bit of a late trip back from Wembley yesterday, but it's one of them.
Okay. Well, it was a one-man show there.
It certainly was. Yeah, it was strange. It was good though in the end. I have to admit, even though it's a shame Dillian didn't turn up, it still would have good.
Yeah, it builds it up for fight week, the big press conference. So and Tyson's an entertainer. He could entertain his own shadow. So from that point of view, it weren't too bad.
Absolutely. Right, let's come on to Wasserman. Channel 5. This deal's been announced on free-to-air television. How big is this deal, and how did it come about?
It's big, it's beautiful, it's exciting. It's a fantastic day for Wasserman boxing, and it's also takes us a little bit full circle on the UK and what we said a year ago when we announced the big deal between Team Sauerland and Wasserman, going under the banner of the biggest sports agency in the world. I think this really sort of indicates that and shows what we said at the time wasn't just a business announcement. I said, judge us in a year. We've quietly, taken foothold in the UK, signing up. We think an excellent stable of a mixture of fires from obviously the big starting out. So and I think that makes us a very compact and exciting unit, and obviously we went on and did the deal with Eubank to put him on Sky Sports, and it became the face of Sky Sports in this year. Put on some great shows in the UK, and now on top of that, which that deal still is obviously existing, and now on top of that we have secured the biggest and best free-to-air platform in the UK, which is, it's so great to have Channel 5 involved in boxing, such a big free-to-air outlet. The numbers they do, are second to none in the market. But to have that exclusively for us, that's really something very special, and something that we feel a big responsibility on to deliver and deliver great fights, great events, and we're looking forward to it and chomping at the bit.
Yeah, I was going to say, I think it says a lot when it's on free-to-air television, because obviously you'll reach a lot bigger demographic, and obviously that's what boxing needs. You don't want it to be just saturated to certain channels.
Matt, 100%. I mean, you're preaching to the choir. I mean, I grew up on free-to-air boxing, the Eubanks, the Bens, all those fights, the Watsons, etc., the Collins. They were all on free-to-air. They made heroes, and boxing after that also had, it hasn't just had the boom it's having at the moment in the UK. It also had a tough time, and the free-to-air sort of pulled out. And Channel 5 has really stuck with boxing over quite a few years now, and I think what the element we want to bring to it is the consistency of it and the consistent programming. I think we can add a lot of elements from the Wasserman world outside of boxing into those events, but also we feel we have a fantastic stable, and you'll watch that stable certainly keep growing, and that's something that we very much have done and intend to continue to do.
Yeah, we mentioned your stable you've got, and obviously you mentioned at the top of it you've got Eubank Jr. But when you look at the developmental side of it, from your Chloe Watsons, Jose Stewart's, this must be a big sort of motivating factor when they see that they could be on, Channel 5 free to air, and it boosts their profile as well, doesn't it? For their
it's the cutting edge, isn't it? It's that if you look at the great fights we have coming, for example, Linus Adofia against Denzel Bentley. Everyone knows when we won that first bit, the reaction was massive, and from trade. I'm not saying that every sports fan in the UK was jumping up and down. It's still a trade fight. It's a British title fight, But everyone knows how good that fight is, and they both know it. Both Linus and Denzel, great guys. Obviously, we're backing Linus, our man from Luton, but it's a fantastic fight. And a British title fight is, you know, he goes on, whoever wins goes on to represent Britain almost, to challenge for the world honours. You know, that's what it is. And that fight has the makings of a great. And hey, is it great that could go on free to air now? Fantastic. You know, so that's something that's, you know, if you're an athlete and you're going to go through the hard training camp, the brutal fight, and you're rewarded by the next day, you're walking down the road and say, "Oh, mate, what a fantastic fight you were in last night. Winner or loser, by the way." And it's just such a, you know, everyone likes appreciation in their work. And then ultimately that's the office. The ring is the office, you know, and if that's shown to a hell of a lot of people in the UK, you know, the numbers for Channel 5, they speak for themselves, you know, often over 1 million viewers. You know, it's fantastic for the UK. Yeah. So that's very exciting, and it's a big responsibility, and we're like I said, chomping at the bit.
That fight's a great fight, and I think if it's on Channel 5, it'll do wonders for them. But
yeah,
it's an absolute beast of a fight.
And Matt, the names to feature there are names that have been already, been boxing on both Sky and BT and the other big boxing outlets. And if you look at, you know, Nathan Gorman, you look at Josh Kelly, you look at the likes of the ones coming through, the big heavyweights, Harlem Eubank, Matty Harris, Stuart Brad Pauls, Razor Ali, Chloe Watson, trained by Ricky Hatton. You know, there's some fantastic talent out there that we've secured, and it's going to continue. You know, it's not that we're just going to settle at that, and that's going to be the case. We're moving forward day by day.
Can I just ask you then? We mentioned good fights. Obviously, we saw Kell Brook the other week. Chris Eubank was there in attendance. I know them two don't particularly get on, and I think Kell Brook's come out and said, I think, see me at 155 if you want that fight. Is that something at all Chris would entertain? Because he's a big, very big boy, so I can't imagine him wanting to come to 155 to fight Kell.
Yeah, no,
is that
something? I don't make too much what's being said. I think the biggest comment from Kell that I listened to was the fight, the comment that he made. I think it was on Sky on Saturday night, where he said he's not retiring. Show me the money. That's what we'll do.
Is there an offer to be made there? Is there one going in, do you think, soon?
No, I mean we will be discussing between the parties, and you know, we'll see if we can find a deal. The weight part is something we'll say what we can do, and they'll say what they can do, and you know. But as a promoter, you have no influence there. I'm not the one making weight. That's down to the guy. They know what they can make, and you know, I think that if you put them both on scales today, they'd be probably pretty similar. In fact, I probably bet that Brook might be a kilo or two heavier than Eubank. But at the same time, we've got to respect everyone's decision. It's a tough sport, and Kell's had a career of tough weights to make. So maybe you'd be happy to not to have that. But at the same time, there's no words going into anyone's mouth, and that's down to them to say and tell us their position and tell them theirs, you know.
Because that's a cracking fight when you look at where it stemmed from years ago, and comments made on Twitter and stuff like that, and they obviously both dislike each other. There's a real build-up there. That could be a huge fight for Britain.
I think the dislike, you know, with Junior, there seems to be a lot of dislike from a lot of different sides. So I think the dislike, I look past that because I can find that in almost in any corner and any fight. It's been rarely that you find an opponent of Eubank Juniors that like him. So from that point of view, we'll take that. But that's not the element. I think more the styles, I think, could make a very good fight. You know, and I said that I dropped Kell Brook last year when we signed with Junior. You know. It was one of the first names out of the hat, sort of thing, and people were like, "What? That's a weird fight. Is he welterweight?" No, Kell Brook is not welterweight anymore. You know, I don't. You know, it hasn't been for a long time. So, you know, and Junior is not a 168er either, by the way. So, that fight was for me always in the running, and now it's sort of surfaced. It's call myself Michael Fish, the weatherman.
Another one of your fighters, Filip Hrgovic. Have we got a bit more of an update on that? I believe there was the talks with Zhang.
Yeah, we had put out a joint bid with Matchroom of the purse bid, which we won. Contract's gone out. We know the date and the location that we'd like to do it on. Can't say anything about that until the contract's signed. But those are, I think, with the IBF, it's two week, if I remember correctly, that they have to be in the contract. So, looking forward to it.
But
the fight for the right.
I was going to say he's been going through some list of opponents to eventually get this, but there's no stumbling blocks now. It's just a case of dotting the I's and crossing the T's and just getting it done. There'll be no problem with that.
No, absolutely, and I don't expect Zhang to do a U-turn. It's the fight's there. Everyone knows what's on the table, and looking forward to it.
And final one from me, obviously. Should call him Mario Briedis for what he did the other night, but Super Marius Briedis.
Actually, just got him calling me right now. There you go, Marius
Briedis. I'll be 2 seconds, but yeah, where are we at with him and Nicole? Is it a case of Briedis has to have one first, and then they can come together? How do you see this?
No, we've got a mandatory to do in Australia. That's signed, it's announced. The dates had to change, but apart from that, we're in discussions with Matchroom in the past about that fight, and I'm sure we can hatch out a deal for later in the year. But we're focusing first and foremost on Australia, Super Mario style. And if Cody wants to become Luigi later in the year, then that's even better.
Brilliant. Kalle Sauerland, thanks for talking to Into Boxing. Give me some of your time today, and congrats on the deal. Huge news.
Thanks very much, Matt. All the very best.
No worries. Cheers.